This is going to be a lot of fun to go over this information with you. It's actually been a really good month of announcements. First, they announced that scientists have discovered a biosignature, chemically, of possible life on an exoplanet. That's the first time they've done that. The second thing this week was the FDA approved a blood test for Alzheimer's. That's a huge breakthrough.
Wow.
And the third announcement that I was really excited about is that the Neptune is open. I had hoped that I would be the first presentation in the Neptune, but not yet, but soon. Anyway, I have many, many things to go over with you guys tonight, so I'm going to dive right into all of this information. We're going to cover banking. I'm going to ask you questions like, how many banks do you have? How many banks should you have? We're going to talk about ATMs. ATMs can be confusing, and they cost a lot of money. I'm going to show you how you can save money at ATMs. We're going to talk about the difference between a debit card, a credit card, how to save money on your credit cards, because we're all traveling the world. And my story is basically, I spent most of my adult life in Denver, Colorado. I retired. I spent a year and a half traveling around the entire world. I got my phone stolen in Europe. I had my identity stolen when I was in Denver, Colorado, so I've gone through a lot of these processes. Then I started living in Mexico for 10 years, and during that time, I learned a lot of other things. So I'm here in front of you today to teach you some of the things I've learned. First of all, I want to tell you the Maui Jim story. Now, a few months ago, while we were in South America, Jim got his phone stolen. And here's the story. He had his phone in his hand, and he was waiting on the sidewalk with Uber open. And as the Uber car was approaching him, he did what all of us do. He walked closer to the street with his phone like this, and he's looking at his phone. He's not looking around, and somebody just came and swiped his phone right out of his hand while it was open in the Uber app. That thief was pretty smart, and Jim was not so lucky. Within 1 hour's time, when Jim got to the airport, and he logged in with his iPad, there were already transactions against his debit card. There were already Bitcoin that had been bought. And hold on for this one, there were 3 transactions in Zelle ready to go out the door for $10,000 each. $30,000 plus in less than an hour. Now, when that happened, how many of you guys remember? Those of you that are on board, all of us were like, what? That's what my reaction was. I want to go through what my reaction was. Number one, I was kind of in disbelief. I was like, how could that possibly happen? No way, no way. And then it occurred to me, and I was a little afraid about my phone. So I sat down with my phone, and unbelievable how embarrassed and stupid I felt when I realized what my phone was capable of doing. I had a folder on my homepage called banks with like 4 different banks. Most of them, they automatically put in the user ID. Some of them automatically logged in. And I had probably 3 of them with over $50,000 readily available for a thief to steal from me. The only difference between Jim and me is somebody stole his phone and nobody stole mine, but our phones were just the same. So when I realized that, I had to start learning how to protect my phone. And a big thanks goes out to Michael Powell and Ron. For that whole month, we played a game together every breakfast, every lunch. It was called, Hey, Steal My Phone. And we would make some changes to our settings, and we would be really excited to sit down with one of the other people and just say, hey, steal my phone. And we'd steal their phone out of their hand and then see what we could do and see how it blocked each other. And the three of us learned a lot of things throughout that month. It was fun, it was exciting, and then finally, I think I learned enough that I felt comfortable, like, I can relax. And then I decided I needed to teach all of you. And so I created a video to try and teach all of you the things that I learned. Unfortunately, it was like 50 minutes long. There's so many details. I couldn't send it through WhatsApp because it's too long. So I put it on YouTube. Some of you have watched it. I'm going to try and teach you some of those things today. It's impossible to go through all of the things I've learned, but I've worked really hard over the last couple of months to create a series of videos that are made available to you guys, and I really want you to watch them. I'm going to educate you about those. But before I do, I want to talk about just some general things. Number one, how many banks do we need?
Less than we have.
As many as we can get. What would you say?
One.
One bank is all we need. Anyone else?
I had two.
2 banks? 3 banks? There's a wide variety of ideas out here. So I want to talk about this as a community and try and get a better idea of what is the best way to organize our money. What is wrong with this picture? So if you have all of your money, let's say you have a net worth of around $300,000 and you put it all in one bank, and you have one debit card that you take off the ship with you to go get local currency, and you have on your phone that banking app for that one bank. What is wrong with this picture?
You're right.
Above the FDIC limit of 250.
Good job. You're above the FDIC limit of 250. What else is wrong with this picture?
It's on your phone.
ATM card, I can take it all.
If a thief, if you lost or stole your ATM card there and they had your PIN, they have access to $300,000. What else is wrong with this picture?
If you wanted to cancel your card, you'd have no other access to charging or getting money.
You guys are doing great. If you lost that card or it got stolen, you have no other card to do anything with.
How would they get your PIN?
Just for example, if somebody kidnapped you and robbed you and forced you to give your PIN, there's all kinds of things. Anything else that's wrong with this picture?
Well, the fact that the app is on your phone.
The app is on your phone.
And on the home screen.
And so right there, you have exposed yourself by taking this phone off the cruise ship, walking around a foreign city, and you are exposing $300,000 on an app on a phone that you're taking off the ship. Those are all important things. And basically in this kind of scenario, if your card gets compromised, if your phone gets compromised, you have one account with $300,000 and all of that is now compromised. Let's talk about some other options. Let's say, for example, you have one bank account that has the majority of your money in it. In addition to that, you open up another account which is just I call it a travel account. It's this account that has your monthly budget, somewhere between $4,000 and $7,000 is all you really keep in that account. And it's this account that gets money fed to it every month. So you have a secondary account, and that has like your annual amount of money to it. And every month it just transfers your monthly budget to your travel account. And then the ATM card that you have and the app on your phone is only accessible to this $4,000 to $7,000 a month. And so if somebody steals your phone or your debit card, the most they're gonna get out of you is that $4,000 to $7,000. The other thing about having this secondary bank right here is what you said, Irene, very good. if somebody steals or if you lose that debit card, what are you gonna do? Jim had this problem. When he realized what was happening, he called his bank and they shut down everything. And he didn't realize it at the time, but immediately after that, he went to go pay for an airline ticket to go home, and guess what? His credit card was canceled. So he was in a bad situation. So what I have learned myself in my travels, it's important to have 2 debit cards and 2 credit cards and have them at different banks so that if something happens, I'm not in a bad situation. So what I'm suggesting that we think about is your primary bank account with a lot of money in it. You have a secondary bank account that maybe has an annual amount of money in it. It's automatically transferring money to a travel account that has a debit card that you take off the ship. And then that is the only bank account that's on your phone that you take off the ship. And then this is the safe that's in your cabin here on board. And back to this bank account is where you have a debit card and a credit card. You don't use those. You keep them in your safe in case you need them. They're your emergency credit card and your emergency debit card. But this is what you take off the ship. And so, if you get compromised, the maximum that you are exposed is that right there, not the 300,000. So, think about how many banks do you have. I want you to go home and ask yourself, how many banks should I have? We're about to go into the United States. It takes a while to get all this set up. So you have the opportunity while we're in the United States. We're coming into Canada, those of you that are from Canada, to try and work on this particular situation. Next up, what's the difference between a debit card that you use at an ATM and a credit card? The biggest important thing is debit cards do not have any kind of theft insurance, fraud insurance, where credit cards do. Let's tell you a little bit more about Jim's story. I love this feature on my iPhone. It allows me to go into a store and just tap my phone on the little machine and it charges my credit card. Jim, unfortunately, he put a debit card on his iPhone. So when his phone was stolen, they took his phone to several stores and they were tapping and tapping and tapping and tapping. Over $1,000 of merchandise were bought. And that you don't get back. Some of the money that Jim lost initially, they got back because there's theft insurance, fraud insurance on credit cards. But the $1,000 that were on that debit card, so sorry, you're not ever going to get that back. Lesson for us to learn is on your iPhones, do not put a debit card, put a credit card on it if you can. Next up, let's talk about ATM cards. How many do we need? What I'm proposing, like I said earlier, is that you have at least 2 debit cards, one that you can carry off the ship only when you need it, not every day, but when you need to get local currency, you can. The second one should stay in your safe for emergencies. And an important topic to talk about here, should it be with the same bank? Is it okay to bank at Wells Fargo and have 2 different bank accounts at Wells Fargo with 2 different debit cards? You can do it that way, but in Jim's case, they just shut everything down when he called. And I have been in situations where I was traveling the world, like in remote islands in the Philippines. No idea why, but I went to the ATM machine. It took my first debit card, it just rejected it, declined, no reason. I put in my second one and it worked from a different bank. No idea why, but that has happened. The other thing I'd tell you is, this one is a Visa, that one is a MasterCard. I learned something traveling, I'm trying to remember if it was Japan or Korea. I was there like a year ago, and I was trying to put their subway pass on my phone so I could just tap my phone. And it wouldn't go through, wouldn't go through, wouldn't go through. And finally somebody told me, oh, you can't use a Visa. It requires a MasterCard. Little things like that is why I'm suggesting 2 different banks and one a MasterCard, one a Visa. Let's talk about ATMs. Listen, as I've been talking to many of you guys, I've heard some things that I have learned living in Puerto Vallarta, and I learned it the hard way. And so I want to teach you what I've learned. I lost a lot of money. There are basically 3 types of fees that we pay when we take a debit card to an ATM. The first fee is your bank. So if you bank at Wells Fargo or Chase, they generally charge you what they call a foreign transaction fee, a foreign ATM fee. And that can range anywhere from $5 to $10. So that year and a half that I was traveling around, I was using Wells Fargo, and they charged me $5 every time I went up to an ATM machine. By the end of the year, who knows how much money that they made for me. The second is a fee for the ATM that you're using. They charge you a fee. And then the third fee that you pay is a conversion fee. Now, this is the biggest part I want to talk about tonight, is what is a conversion fee and how do you avoid those? In fact, I'm going to teach you, if you live in the United States, I'm going to teach you how to avoid all 3 of these fees. But before I continue, does anybody have a question as to what are these fees and how are they different? Does everybody understand that you pay your bank, unless you've already done the homework and found a bank that does not charge you a fee? You pay a fee to the bank that owns that ATM, and then when you're getting Mexican pesos or European, whatever foreign money you're getting, ATMs these days, they charge what's called a conversion. Any questions on that before I continue?
The second line, you have $sign and percent signs. Is one of them a typo?
No, it's not a typo, but thank you for asking that. The bank fees from that ATM, some charge a $1 flat fee. I've seen some ATMs these days that are no longer charging a flat fee. They're charging a percentage of the amount of money that you take. That could be a lot of money that you pay in that fee. So I'm going to teach you how to get rid of all of those. First, I want to really clarify what I mean by this conversion fee that you get. ATMs are smart, and I am so proud of the people who program these, because what they do, the buttons over here on this right-hand side, you have to click those buttons like 3 or 4 times. They say, are you sure you want this? Do you sure you want to do this? Want to confirm here? And then they ask you this question, and they display all kinds of information, and you're like, I don't know what that means. And so what do we all do? We click over here on the right-hand side, accept conversion, and then we get our money, because we don't understand this screen. But I'm going to walk you through this. And it varies bank by bank, country by country. But this screenshot was from Mexico, but I saw this in Europe last year. It's not just in Mexico, you guys, it's everywhere around the world. So the most important thing right here in red, where it says includes a 15% markup over wholesale rate. So what they're doing here is they're saying they're going to convert your US dollars into Mexican pesos, and here's the rate that they're giving you, and they do the math so that it's confusing. They don't tell you that it's like a 20 to 1 or 19 to 1. They do the math in a different way so it's confusing. And then you look at the screen, you don't understand it, but you've been hitting everything on the right-hand side, so you go ahead and you click accept conversion, and then you just paid them an additional 15%. Now, I've seen some as low as 6% in Puerto Vallarta. I've seen some, last week, I don't remember where I was, I saw it as high as 16% that these banks are charging. And like I said, it's not just in Mexico, it's everywhere. So, most people think that if you click decline conversion, you will not get your money. And so we click accept. I'm telling you, click decline conversion. All you're really declining is that markup. You will still get your money, but you won't pay that markup amount.
That's crazy.
15%.
It's crazy.
Any questions on that one?
Wow, that's amazing.
Now,
But your bank is converting at a particular rate.
I'm sorry, what, Rob?
But your bank is converting at a certain rate. Your bank.
The bank.
Your bank.
Your own
bank
bank.
is converting. There is a conversion still.
There is a conversion, but instead of using the conversion rate of the ATM you're at, you're going to be using the conversion rate of your bank, which is going to be a more fair conversion that does not include that markup.
Right.
Now, this screen is pretty easy to understand. I have been watching these ATM screens. They're not always that easy. Be very careful. I'm telling you, you get in the habit of just doing this on the right-hand side, and all of a sudden, without thinking, you click accept conversion. And pay attention. And the screens are always different. This one actually says 15% markup. They don't always. Sometimes they just really mess with the math on that right there, and you have no idea what you're doing. In a general rule, always click decline conversion. Okay. So that was number 3, how to get rid of that conversion fee. I also want to educate you how to get rid of the first fee and the second fee. Now, some banks charge that banking fee for a foreign ATM, and some don't. If you're banking at a bank, call them and say, how much do you charge me to use a foreign ATM? And you should be aware of this if you don't know. And if they charge a fee, go shopping for a different bank that has no fee. So like I told you, Wells Fargo charged me $5 every transaction. Now, for those of you that live in the United States, and for those of you that don't, I apologize to the Canadians. I'm going to tell you something that's amazing about the United States. These two investment firms, Charles Schwab and Fidelity, they both do this. They offer a free checking account with no ATM fees, no foreign ATM fees, and better yet, they reimburse me for what the fee that ATM charged me that I used. I'm going to say this again. I use Charles Schwab when I go off the ship. So when I stick my debit card into a machine, Charles Schwab does not charge me a fee like Wells Fargo did. Now that bank that I'm using charges me a fee, but at the end of the month, Charles Schwab gives it back to me. Fidelity does the same thing. We're about to be in the United States. If you don't use one of these two financial institutions for a free checking account, I highly recommend that you research this and open one while we're in the United States. Lots of questions. Paul?
One caveat I found with Charles Schwab, it's no big deal, but they do require you to open a small investment account to get the checking account.
That is a correct statement. Charles Schwab does require you to open an investment account. Keep in mind, what is their business? Their business is not checking accounts like a normal bank. Their business is to get your investment, all of your money. So this is like a lost leader to them. So as Paul was mentioning, they do require you to open an investment account in order to open a checking account that's free. How much money do you think I keep in that investment account, Paul?
$1.
1 penny.
What, Eddie?
I keep 1 penny in my Charles Schwab investment account, and it works every month. And they refund me lots of money as I'm traveling the world using my debit card. Another question.
Everbank also has no fee.
Everbank?
Everbank.
Perfect. And they have no foreign ATM machine fees?
Not that I-
And do they reimburse you?
Yes,
And they reimburse you?
Yeah.
That's a US bank?
yes.
Does anybody in Canada have a bank in Canada that does this?
No investment, no foreign investment.
I hope one day that all of us say, yes, I know a bank in Canada because our Canadian friends need to utilize this as well. Another question about
What
this?
about credit unions?
I'm not very familiar with credit unions, I'll be honest, but I think you could still call them and just say,
Okay.
how much do you charge me if I use a different ATM machine? And will you reimburse me for what the other machine cost me?
Some do.
Some do.
Mine does, if you
Perfect. So see, I think these two companies are putting pressure on all the other banks. And now Lori just said that her bank does do what Charles Schwab and Fidelity do, but only up to 12 times a month. So the point here, shop around. These bargains exist. Don't, just because you've used Chase or Wells Fargo all your life, don't keep doing it as we are traveling the world. This can cost you a lot of money. Before I continue, one more question?
Either of those have a minimum balance that you have to keep to?
I use Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab has no, I don't believe it has a minimum balance. And I know in my investment account I have 1 penny. But these are just questions that you should all ask. My job tonight is to teach you these exist. Shop around, ask these questions. While we're in the United States, change your banks if you need to. And so that is how you get rid of the final, those 2 fees. We don't know a Canadian. We've already talked about how to decline that conversion rate. Okay, so I think all of that we've been covered.
Eddie?
Okay, next question. Yes, Peter.
I always thought Charles Schwab was an online rather than brick and mortar bank, so why do I have to go to the US to open an account?
Charles Schwab in Denver and other cities, I know they do have a brick and mortar facility. That's where I went in Denver. I don't know specifically that you have to do all of this while we're in the United States. You can contact them and ask them if you can open an account while you're traveling the world. But what I'm saying is do that now, because if they tell you you have to go into a facility, we are about to be in towns that have all these facilities. Okay, next up. One more question before I go on. Yes, Phil?
Can you repeat the question when they're asked?
Oh, thank you. He said, do I really have to go into a branch location of Charles Schwab to open the account? And I said, I really don't know, but just in case you do, now's the time to do it. We're about to be in the US. One more?
I have a debit card, and when I go, and I live in the United States, I'm not on the ship yet, but whenever I go into a store, I use my debit card and I get cash back, and there's no fees for getting the cash back. So I'll go into the Publix or Walmart and I'll get $50 cash back, and then I don't have to pay any fees.
That's really awesome. Does it work internationally?
I don't know that one yet.
Okay.
I will know that
Check
one
that
on the
out
ship.
and let us all know on Circle. Okay, guys, I'm going to keep going. How do ATMs make money? Why would a person put an ATM in their business? My brother-in-law just recently did this. He bought an ATM and he put it in a business to make money. How do they make money? They make money on every single transaction. So whether it's a $5 fee every transaction or a 10% fee every transaction, ATMs are making money for the person who owns that ATM. They're really tricky. I want to teach you this. It pisses me off, and so I have to tell you this. Many ATMs will show you a screen with different options on how much money you can take out. It really makes me laugh when I see a $10 amount, because my bank, like Wells Fargo, would charge me $5. Their bank charges me $5. It's basically costing me $10 to get $10, right? Isn't that crazy? Now, the same kind of strategy happens in foreign countries. We're in Mexico, and I'm telling you, all the banks in Puerto Vallarta, they offer you stupid amounts like 50 pesos. You don't know what a peso is worth. You're thinking, well, why would an ATM offer me 50 pesos if it's not a significant amount of money? And so you might hit 50 pesos and you just lost money, honestly. 50 pesos is $2.50, and you just paid ATM fees to get that amount. So they have all of these options, and it's really only over here that has reasonable options to cover the cost of the ATM fees that you're about to pay. What most people don't pay attention to is that button right there called Other Amount. You literally can click Other Amount and then type in like 8,000, which is in Mexico, that would be $400 US. All right? And so ATMs don't want you to use that other amount button. Why?
Because they run
They're
out.
not making enough money.
They want you to click 100 and then do it again and click 100 and do it again and click 100 and do that 5 times to get 500. Because now they just got 5 transaction fees. Whereas if all you did was click other amount, put in 500, you get it all the money you wanted with only paying 1 series of transaction fees. Everybody understand that concept?
Yes.
What I've learned in Puerto Vallarta, every bank is different. One bank has a maximum of 6,000. One bank has a maximum of 8,000. One bank has a maximum of 16,000. None of the banks display under that other amount what their maximum is. You have to do trial by error by putting in like 10,000 pesos. It'll reject it, and then I'm like, okay, well let's try 8,000. Okay, well let's try 7,000. But anyway, my point here is, please don't just click these buttons here. Do the math of the foreign currency that you're trying to get, click other amount, and put in how much you want. If it declines it just because it has some kind of limit, do it a little bit lower until you get the amount. And then you don't have to pay 4 ATM fees just to get money. That is how they make money. Let's talk about credit cards. Credit cards are different. We need to shop around. Some credit cards charge what they call a foreign transaction fee. Most of them are around 3%, okay? Some credit cards do not charge a foreign transaction fee. That means every time you swipe that card buying things at a restaurant or a store, your bank tacks on 3% automatically. So ask your credit card company, give them a call. Am I paying a foreign transaction fee? And if they say yes, call other banks and find a credit card that does not. That's my advice on credit cards. Next up, we have all seen these little machines in stores as we're traveling around. Now, these stores are just as devious and just as confusing to try and get yet another couple of percentages of your money that you do not have to pay. This basically says, if you choose to get it in CHF, which I don't know what that, this is a Swiss one, or you can do it in US dollars, and it says pay in US, question mark? Notice that they make it really simple. You just hit the enter, which is that green button to say yes. And when we look at these, we're confused. There's a line of people behind us, and we don't know what to do. And so we just hit that green button, and guess what? You just paid another 3%. So I want you guys to add this up. If you hit that green button, you just paid 3%. If you're using a bank that has a foreign transaction fee, you just paid them 3%. So you just paid 6% that you didn't have to pay. So pay attention to these little machines. My advice, never, never, never select US dollars. This is what they want you to do. Always select the foreign amount and you won't pay that markup. In this particular machine, you have to click the cancel button in order to say no. They don't say pay in US dollars, yes or no. They make it a little bit harder. Enter means yes and cancel means no. Somebody had a question?
No,
Yes?
I made a smart aleck remark, unless you're in the US.
Yeah, correct. If you're in the US, this doesn't matter. But as we're traveling around the world, you're gonna see this everywhere you go, okay?
So wait,
And that 3%, it's varying. Some places it might only be 1%. Some places it might be 5%. My point is pay attention, be informed, and always click the foreign currency, not the US dollar one. Yeah?
If your bank is a Canadian bank, will it say you want Canadian dollars?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Does anybody know? His question is, if you're from Canada and your bank is a Canadian bank and use these machines, does it say US dollar or does it say Canadian? Who knows the answer?
Canadian.
It does say Canadian. Okay, it says Canadian. And so it's basically saying, do you want to pay in your local currency back home? If you do, I'm glad to do that, but it's going to cost you 3%. Okay?
Eddie,
Yeah.
don't most machines like that just show a flag where you don't have to hit enter or cancel, you just punch the flag? Isn't that how it works?
You know, I've seen all kinds of strategies. What John's question was is, do they show it differently? Absolutely. There is no standard on this. It's all confusing. It is meant to be confusing because they want you to lose another couple percents of your money.
Sometimes I'm not given the option to keep the machine on their side and never turn it around and click one button or the other.
Oh, yeah.
Do all this themselves.
Yeah. I've seen this a lot. The cashiers, I mean, think about it. If you owned a store, would you not teach your cashiers to do all of this for the client?
Right.
Don't show the client this. Just say, oh yeah, give me your credit card. I'll do the buttons for you. What do you think that cashier is doing? Which button are they hitting? So my suggestion, always ask the people for the machine, you push the buttons, and you make sure you tell that cashier, I want it in your currency. All right, let's keep going. Let's see what's next. Okay, let's talk about this. Now, I live in Puerto Vallarta for the last 10 years, and I learned the hard way that when I leave my house at night to go bar hopping, I really don't need my great big wallet full of 4 credit cards and all my money. I really only need this. I have seen some of you leave the ship with your purse and your wallets that have all kinds of stuff in it. You don't need that. Let me show you what you should have. Go buy one of these. They only cost like $5 or $3. Inside of this, you should have 1 credit card. Not a debit card, because if it gets compromised, there is no theft insurance. Cash only for today. When you go off the ship, how much money do you really need? You might go to a store, you might go to a restaurant. Do you really need $500 cash in your purse or in your wallet? Just take enough money for today so that if somebody steals this or if you lose it, you're only out a small amount of money. I also keep my expired driver's license. It's important to have an ID in here, yes, but it doesn't have to be a valid one. This is actually my expired Colorado license from years ago. It still has my photo, it has my ID on it, and if I lose this wallet or it gets stolen, no big deal. It was my expired driver's license. So keep some kind of ID, but you don't have to keep your current driver's license.
If you're asked for your ID in the US and it's expired, they won't accept it.
That is a good statement. I have run into that. In the United States, I went into a bar, they asked for my ID, they checked the expiration date, and they said, sorry, you can't. So in some situations, I've gotten burned by this, but in foreign countries, I have not had a single foreign country look at that expiration date because it's all in English and they don't understand it.
I keep a colored copy of my passport.
Another great idea. Many people keep a photocopy of their passport in that little wallet as they're traveling around. Another thing that I do is I have a photo of my passport on my phone. I also emailed myself that photo of my passport. So if I'm somewhere and my passport gets lost or stolen, I can log on to my email account from any computer in the world and get to a photo of my passport. So take a picture of your passport, take a picture of your driver's license, put it on your phone, email it to yourself, and maybe print it off and carry that in your little daily wallet. I keep messing up on these buttons, aren't I? Going backwards and forwards. Okay, let's talk about your secondary wallet. Just a second. Your secondary wallet is something that you should keep in your cabin safe. This is where you have your emergency credit card, your emergency debit card, a whole bunch of cash, and that is kept here on the ship. It does not go off the ship. Okay, question?
I was gonna say those pictures that you take of your ID, put it in a password protected album. If you
Yes.
have that option.
Very good. So what she was saying is that when you take those photos of your IDs and you keep them on your phone, keep them in a password protected folder on your phone. We're going to get to that in a moment. Okay, any questions on these two wallets? One you take off the ship, one you leave on the ship. Think through what it is that you are taking off the ship every day and ask yourself these tough questions. Do I really need that? And what am I putting myself at risk? There's also some people do this. They have a fake wallet, which means they carry around one, they know the color of it, and if they get robbed face to face and somebody says, give me your wallet, they're just gonna reach into their bag and hand them this green one because that has an expired credit card that doesn't do anything, and it maybe has like 10 or 20 bucks in it, and the thief runs away before he realizes he really didn't get your real wallet. Some people carry an old cell phone in their bag. I do this. I've been doing this for years, so that if I'm traveling around and somebody robs me and says, give me your cell phone, well, I know exactly what pocket of my backpack my iPhone is in, and I know what pocket of my backpack this old phone is in. I'm gonna reach down and grab that old phone and hand that to him, not my new phone. Another option for you to consider. And then here's the discussion that I've been having with many of you as I've been researching this. How do I say this? We have invested a lot of money in our lifestyle. Should we not invest a little bit more and buy a second phone? I am letting you make this decision for yourself, but I'm telling you, when we get to California, I am going into an iPhone store and I am buying me a new iPhone. I will have two phones. And let me tell you what I have thought through and what the two phones should look like. Phone number one is what I carry off the ship. For me, I'm going to take the one with the best camera, which means the brand new phone that I'm just about to buy. That might seem really crazy, that I'm taking a brand new iPhone off the ship that might be stolen, but for me, I want those photos. This is something that you can consider. It will have one banking app on it, to that travel account that only has $4,000 in it. My connectivity, I'm going to use Google Voice and an eSIM card, an eSIM app to give it connectivity when I'm off the ship. And then I'll put all kinds of apps on that phone, like WhatsApp, Google Map, Google, things like that I use, GPS My City. That's my phone that I take off the ship when I go to port. My other phone will stay in the cabin, in the safe. That has the older camera, all of my banking apps. I'll just use the Wi-Fi connectivity. I don't really need an eSIM app. I'll probably have it installed, but I don't necessarily need it. And that's my emergency phone. So if I lose this phone or if that gets stolen, I have a secondary phone that's just as good. This is what I call the two phone option. Think about this. Yes, John.
I love the idea, but my question, concern is that if you use the same Apple ID on both phones, can they somehow get into your information that way?
John's question was, if you have two iPhones, can the thief get into your Apple account and still mess you up? That is part of the things I'm going to show you in second half of today, is how to protect your Apple accounts.
What's an eSIM?
A SIM card is that little thing that we used to put in our phone to give us a cellular service. An eSIM does it electronically. It's just software. There's no hardware.
Another comment, a tablet would serve as basically the emergency phone.
That is true. So you don't necessarily have to have a second phone if you have another Apple device, like a tablet, what is that called?
iPad.
An iPad. I don't have one. But yes, so you don't have to have two phones. You could have a phone, and your secondary one could be your iPad. Very good points. What time is it?
9:15.
9:15. I have 15 minutes. I knew I
To
wasn't
do the
going
other
fast
half.
enough. Sorry, we're just going to skip over all this. I want you to watch this video. No more questions. I will learn how to use these buttons. I want you to watch this video that I made
Eddie,
to
ask
teach
Siri,
you
she'll tell
how a thief does this. When a thief steals your phone while you are just standing on the street corner with Uber open, I'm going to show you what he will do. First, he will just swipe away from Uber. Then he's going to go into your settings app. From there, he's going to scroll down to display and brightness. He'll scroll down where it says auto lock. And he's going to immediately change that to never.
Ah.
Now your phone will never auto lock itself from inactivity. And he can just set your phone aside, come back and use it whenever he wants. The next thing he's going to do is he needs to find what bank you use, and he needs to find your email application. Now, he doesn't have to go searching through all of your apps. No, it's much easier than that. He will go to the very end of all your apps to what's called your app library. And you notice right here it says productivity and finance. He'll tap that. Oh, it looks like you use Bank of America. You also use Citibank. Oh, and look over here. You use Gmail. That's really simple. So what he's going to do is tap on Citibank. And even if you had it set to log yourself in with your Face ID, he obviously doesn't have your face. It will not log him into your bank, but it will open the app. And if you've made the mistake of having your username automatically defaulted to save you keystrokes, now all he has to do down here at the bottom is click on Forgot Password. And what is your bank going to do? They're going to send you an email with a verification code or a link that will allow him to change your password. And at that moment, he has your user ID, your password, and he knows that you use Citibank. And he will start transferring your money to him. He will start buying Bitcoin, and you're going to lose thousands of dollars. It doesn't take that long for a thief to break into your bank account when he steals your phone when it is open. Okay, the key there is when your phone is open, and that's what we have to try and prevent, is when we're using our phone, when we're off of this ship, and somebody steals it while it's open, we have to make some configuration changes so that as the thief is navigating and doing things, it'll lock itself down. What I've done is I've worked hard and I've created a series of videos. I'm just going to skip forward because I'm out of time. There are 6 videos for you to watch. They will walk you step by step through the things I was hoping to teach you some of tonight. Obviously, I'm out of time, but you got to see a little snippet of what my videos are like. I've tried to be very animated with characters and pointing, well, it's very simple to follow. Even if you're not a tech person, you can follow them. One thing I want to point out is that when you get down to part number 4, the thing that Jim's phone allowed the thief to do, he had Uber open. And what I have figured out is I can make my iPhone automatically lock when I swipe away from Uber, when I swipe away from my camera, whatever app I have open, and when I swipe away, it automatically locks my phone.
Oh.
This is what Jim taught me by telling me his story. I had to figure out a way, and I did. And I want to share that with you guys. But you have to go watch these videos because I'm out of time.
Do you want to have create a second night to do the second half you're talking?
I can come back another night.
I know people.
Okay, she knows people. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you is that when you get down to this part 4, you will be very tempted to say, oh, well, I might have my phone open, I might have my camera, my WhatsApp, my Google, my GPS, my city, make a list of 30 apps. It's great. I show you how, if you're on the ship connected to this Wi-Fi, your phone will not do anything. But when you're off the ship, it does get a little frustrating because every time I switch from my camera to WhatsApp or something, I'm constantly having to swipe up. So what happens is the phone locks, I have to look at it, swipe up. It's not that irritating, but it's a little irritating. One other thing about these is that if you do not have a phone that has facial recognition, don't do that. Today somebody said they followed my video and they said, how do I take this off? I said, why do you want to take it off? She says, well, I'm tired of putting in my passcode. She doesn't have facial recognition. She doesn't have a thumbprint. So she followed my instructions and she has to put in her passcode every single time she's not on the ship. So if you don't have a facial recognition camera, don't do that. Also, be prepared. You're going to be a little frustrated when you're off the ship. Think about what you normally use, what you don't. Don't go overboard. There's a balance between frustrating you and preventing a thief from getting in. Anyway, there will be more videos coming. This is how to protect yourself. The next video I'm going to create is what things should you write down on a piece of paper and put in your safe in case your phone does get stolen, so you have that information. The video after that is going to be what do you do when your phone is stolen. So there's more videos coming out, and after those I'm going to work with Android users, and I'm going to create videos that target Android for y'all. And then after that, I've already decided I'm going to create some videos on how to decrease our bandwidth on our Fire Sticks and on our phones. So please go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, watch all these things. There's more to come.
What is your YouTube channel?
Yeah, what is that channel?
There is a QR code right there. As you guys leave today, you can come up and take a picture or scan that QR code, and that will take you to my channel. Now, all of you are gonna want help, and you're all gonna come to me and say, Eddie, I don't know how to do this. Eddie, here, let me just give you my phone and you do it. No. You must try it first. I worked hard to create very simple videos. Watch the videos, try it yourself. I still know many of you will be confused. I have a group of people who have been willing to help you. Cheers to Jim Maui. He is one of them because he personally knows how frustrating it was to go through this experience. Claire Ellen got her phone stolen down in South America. She is not a tech person, but because of her experience, she is learning it and she is willing to help you. Michael Powell and Ron, this is my team that I've put together. So as you have questions, don't just come to me. It will overwhelm me. Utilize my team. And with that I think that's all I can do for tonight. Thank you.
You turn the back.